Check test. Hello. That was weird. Do we have audio? Do we have audio? Check test 1 2. Check test. Looks like it. Check test. Hello. All right. Well, looks like maybe I got most everything back together the way it was supposed to go. Hi, everybody. Good evening. Here we are back in familiar surroundings, and so happy to be here with you. Let's get a look over here. Gary D says, who'd I use for my mail service when I was traveling? I used my dad. I used his address, and he sorted out the crap and sent me about whenever he needed to, he would send me, what I needed to catch up, bills and stuff like that. Most everything was paid, automatically, so I didn't have to worry about that too much, Gare. Scotty's in from Bremerton, where it's unusually dry. Vincent RV Life bragging about his 82 degrees and low humidity along the Emerald Coast of Florida. Vincent was responding to Gary. They use SBI mail service out of Green Cove Springs. FMCA has a mail forwarding service. There are several others. Mailboxes America, I believe it is, in South Dakota is another popular one. But yeah, there's a number of mail forwarding services out there. There's another one out there. It'll come to me in a minute. Tim's in. Good evening, Tim. Robert Covington checking in from Tennessee. Tom Downey's in from Whidbey. Scotty was telling me that he's found the perfect way to mount his Yagi cell antenna. Arctic white camo netting poles, fiberglass, 4 poles for $10, Army surplus. Wow. Yeah, send some pictures of that. I saw a note down there. Tom, they've had hard frost here. We had hard frost the last couple nights, actually. So, yeah, the seasons have switched. Agree with Tim. We want to see some pictures of your Yagi mast. He's headed out next week. He'll get us some pictures. Good. Good evening, Tom. Jim Bertrand. Hi, Jim. So nice to have you here. And to see you tonight as well. Eric Myers checking in from Deming. Judy Kimbrough's there. And so Scott Mogich. Good to see you all. Square Body Truck Camper. Yeah, new channel name. I noticed that when I watched your camping video. Square Body Truck Camper, Jay, formerly KX Racer. They got out for their first camping trip in their camper. Looked like you had a great time with your tequila. That made me laugh. That's what I call it too, by the way. So yeah, I had a good trip home, but it was long, and the last 200 miles was driving snow. Loadout was raining. It was, it was exactly what you could expect. I was there for like 5 weeks. I think it rained once, and that was just a thunderstorm in the 5 weeks I was there. And on Monday, the last day we were in Arkansas, getting the house shut down and getting everything moved out and donated away, it rained. Fortunately, it didn't rain while we were sort of emptying the house out, but by the time it got time for me to start loading up the stuff that we were bringing home, which a lot of it you can probably see in the background there. Well, yeah, there's the chairs and some other stuff that we brought back. And that's kind of what I've been working on this week, is kind of getting that sorted out, catching up on all my winter prep, fixed a little problem with the garage roof, pulled my window air conditioners out, put the storm windows back up, mowed, raked, all those kinds of things. It'll be 3 or 4 times more of mowing and raking because the leaves are just starting to fall here. We had a really late fall, which is good. Oh, let's see. Kevin Coops in from Missouri. Hi, Kevin. Good to see you. Good to have you here tonight. I was going to share a little content that Tim shared with me. Gosh, it's been a while. Gaton I hope I'm saying that right. So nice to have you here. Oh, he changed his mind. He wants his message back. Anyway, Tim had sent me some content. Gosh, I don't even remember when you sent this, Tim. 10/18, so a couple weeks ago. Tim was up out getting his coach worked on. Oops, I got to flip over here. Hold on, I need to go here. Yeah, and let's slide this over here. And then let's bring this up. So this is Tim's coach, and you can see here that his alignment was off a little bit between the slide and the body. And what you want to notice here is that there are two nylon guides that are missing. You see them right here. So he went up to the Elkhart, to Stewart Service in Elkhart. They're an authorized HWH repair center, and got those nylon runners replaced. And then look at that Super C there on an intertractional chassis with South Dakota plates. Must be a full-timer. Yeah, so there's Tim's rig. So good deal, Tim. And then also he's sent me this picture tonight. And this is some astrophotography he's been working on. That is amazing. This is stuff you've taken, Tim? Question mark. The Eastern Veil Nebula. That is really cool. And then the Witch's Broom Nebula. Do I have audio? I don't even remember if I got the microphone over here or not. Check, test, 1, 2. Hello. I got some size problems here. Just a minute, folks. Yeah, okay, cool. All right. Hey, those are really cool images, Tim. For sure. All right, let me get things sorted back out here. Really, it's because you know, I've been super busy the last couple of weeks. I don't have a lot of content. Thanks, Score Body. Good to know the audio is good. And yeah, Ray Castles Castile. Hi, Ray. Good to see you as well. I haven't seen you for a while. Yeah, so I don't really have a lot of content tonight. I just thought we'd do a quick check-in and say hey to everybody. If you do have questions, be sure and throw them out there, and I'm happy to answer them. I'm just kind of scanning back here, making sure that I didn't miss anything in the chat. We were talking briefly about mail forwarding services. Yeah, so if you're a full-timer and watching, who do you use for your mail forwarding service? Like I say, I know there's a couple of them out there. Baton, hi. Gayton from Rockland, Ontario, currently in Sevierville, Tennessee, with his wife Dorothy and Money Pit. That's the motorhome, yeah. You know how to keep a motorhome from costing you any money to operate? Park it. Arlen Paula, hey, nice to have you here from Shebawing, Michigan. First sugar beet harvest. Well, they do a lot of sugar beets around here, and when I was younger, I used to drive trucks for sugar beets. I used to work the potato harvest quite a bit too. Yeah, so that was good money when you were a kid. Ray says he's likewise been busy for sure. Oh, Tim's getting his shower base repaired. Good deal. He has a cracked shower base. Oh, I just heard that. America's Mailbox. Thanks, Eric. Yeah, America's Mailbox. That's the one I was thinking about. I think I might have called it Mailbox America, but America's Mailbox. That's really popular up in South Dakota. Square Body. Yes, I do not. If your toilet doesn't hold water, I wouldn't worry about it. I definitely want to water, you definitely want to winterize all your water lines, and make sure your holding tanks are completely dry. The only issue you might run into is if you don't get the holding tanks completely dry, water could accumulate against the valve and freeze, and that could damage that your drain valve. So it probably wouldn't hurt to have a little antifreeze in the in the toilet bowl and in the tank. Hang on here. I think the pup wants to go outside. I inherited a dog when Dad passed. You want to go outside? No, come on. Let's go. There you go. Go out in the wind. Sorry about that. I should have put him out. He's as regular as clockwork. Okay, so yeah, finishing up my answer to Jay over at Square Body. Yeah, in the toilet bowl, you probably don't need to worry about it, Jay. As long as it's dry and not holding any water, you should be okay. But it wouldn't hurt to slop a little bit in the holding tank. That'll just drain back towards the valves and keep them from freezing and getting damaged in any way. Let's see. We were, before I was so rudely interrupted, I was going to go see, I think I heard Scotty's email pop in with his masts. By the way, my email address, if you're shy and you don't want to answer or you put your question out in the chat window, you're more than welcome to email me. That's trbolin, BOWLIN, @gmail.com. And I'm happy to answer your questions there. And if it's really interesting, then I'll generally share it with the audience, usually the week after I get your question. You're welcome, Square Body. Let's see here. Let me flip over here real quick. I got to get my switch box working correctly here. All right, so there's Scotty's setup for his Yagi on his cell phone booster, and that looks like a good setup. Those each cost you $10, $9.95. They look like about, what, 5 footers, something like that. And then, yeah, okay, cool. So where'd you get that mount, Scotty? That looks pretty cool. Looks like a good setup. Oh, yeah. Bombing. Oh, you've got an upper mount, too. Yeah, so where'd you get the Where did you get the mounts, Scotty? But, yeah, that's a really cool setup. That ought to work like a charm. So, yeah, excellent, excellent, excellent. Thanks, Scotty. $10 for 4 poles. Oh, wow, that is a good deal. You got those at the Army Surplus, huh? Yeah, there's an Army Surplus in Idaho Falls, about 50 miles north of me. I plan on getting up there real soon. And, because I need to pick up some other things that they've got there. Scott wants to know how the truck camper is coming. Here's where I got, Scott. I was just finishing the insulation when my dad became sick and I had to leave. So, and that's probably where it's going to sit till spring. I might get lucky and I might get a couple of decent days, where I can go out. But the deal is that the way I have it wrapped up right now is I've got it wrapped up to be wrapped up good so that it won't leak or, any moisture or water get into it. And it might be a huge pain in the butt to get it unwrapped just to do a couple 3 or 4 hours worth of work on it. So I might not unwrap it until spring, but we'll see. I do have some stuff that I can still work on. There's a few minor things inside, and I've got it set up, where I can get to the back of the camper really easily and get it open. Plus I'm storing a whole bunch of stuff in there. I've got some rolled insulation that goes on, some other stuff. But I've got content till well after Christmas as far as episodes go. It might actually work out that the episodes will run out about the time that I go back to work on it. Fingers crossed. Anyway, we'll see how that works out. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at, Scott. Insulation's 75% done. The electrical is done. The next thing was going to be starting on the siding. And that, like I say, I might be able to get to some of that, between now and before it gets really cold, because it is November 1st, and I was working on it outside last year on the 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th, right in that range, because we had a good run of 60, 65 degree days. Yeah, so we'll see. You know, if I get to where I got a dry spell, and I'll get out and do a little bit more work on it for sure. But yeah, I'm a way behind on the episodes. This week's episode, I'll just finish the roofing, or just finish putting the roof together and putting it on. Thank you, Tim, for that post there on the email. $10 for 4 poles. So where did you get the mount? Did it come with the poles, Scotty? Oh, EEZ RV Products aluminum flag and windsock pole mount for RV ladder, satellite antenna, Starlink, pole mount, adjustable, blah, 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 blah. Okay, cool. Okay, square body truck camper. Do I think it's a problem that all of the water will not drain out of a tank style water heater? The drain is mounted not directly on the bottom of the tank. I don't think it's a problem. You know what you could do possibly though, Jay, is if there is a sacrificial anode in the bottom of the tank, you can pop that out and just with some compressed air, just blow some compressed air in there, and that'll usually blow the rest of the water out. But I don't really think it's a problem, and yeah. I'm just sitting here thinking. I mean, it wouldn't hurt to winterize it, you know. I mean, but that's a lot of antifreeze, right? I mean, you know, it's 6 gallons or 10 gallons of antifreeze. So yeah, I don't think you've got a problem there, Jay, square body. Tim Myers might want to leave the plug out so there's room for expansion. Yeah, good point, Jay or Tim. Siding should go pretty quick. Yeah, let's hope. Robert Covington, what's my opinion about hauling Blue Boy on back of fifth wheel ladder? I've seen it done. That's all I can say. I think it's probably okay if you got a good stout ladder. Want to make sure your ladder mounts are in good shape. Make sure you don't have too much crap hanging on it. I mean, I saw a guy going down the road with his fifth wheel, and on his ladder, he had a ladder, and his, you know, porta potty ported his John dumper, Blue Boy, as you're calling it. And there was something else on there too. Might have been a bike, all hanging off his fifth wheel ladder. So they're pretty stout. Just want to make sure the mounts are in good shape. But yeah, I wouldn't worry about it, Robert. Diane Brown. Hi, Diane. So she says, I recently purchased a 2013 Kodiak Dutchman, 33 foot. Anyone own one, and do you like it or any history issues associated? Funny thing, never have found circuit breaker on my 1990 Jayco. 4 people have searched. Interesting. I don't know what to tell you about the circuit breaker. I'm not sure. I know that I've seen a bunch of Dutchmans on the road. Beautiful rigs. You know, there is a forum on irv2.com, Diane, for the Kodiak Dutchman. IRV2 is a great resource for rig specific and for general RV type questions, but especially for rig specific, I'll get it out. So you can go in there and find the owners forum for Kodiak Dutchmans, and you'll find, you'll probably find at least a couple dozen owners in there chatting about their rigs, and so that is a really good resource, Diane, for information about your rigs. Tom Downey says his 10-gallon Suburban drains water complete. Yeah, that's because it's a little different than what Jay's got in his rig. His is an older water heater. And Tom says they do remove the anode. Yeah, that's a good practice too. Scotty says the pole mount was very expensive, but it's really nice. Yeah, it looks like it probably is really nice. Snap in, snap out type of a situation. what I ended up doing with my pole for my Yagi cell phone booster, that's for those of you that don't know what we're talking about. Let me pop this back over here because it's a good opportunity to do a little education here. We'll go back to this picture real quick. So when you hear us talk about cell phone boosters, there are two types of antennas. One is an omnidirectional, which means it will see signal from all sides. And then when you get way out in the fringe, on the fringe of a cell phone cell service area, you want to get something like this Yagi. And what this is it's a directional antenna. And I actually have a video on my channel about using a directional cell phone antenna. Just a second here, and see if I can pop that up real quick. Yeah, this is probably the better one to share with you. Hang on here. Let's see here. Oh, come on. Why? There it is. All right.
Do you know you can save with GoodRx even if you haven't?
I didn't want to launch the video. I got too much crap on this screen over here, is what the deal is. There we go. All right, now I think I've got my feces consolidated. So the video link I just posted is to a video on my channel showing using my Yagi antenna, very much like this setup that Scotty has, to reach out and get a signal from roughly 60 miles away, and using pretty much the same kind of a setup Scotty's got there. And you use the directional antenna when you're way out on the fringe, and you point it towards that cell tower and you kind of peek it out. There's an application you can run on your phone so you can monitor how good the signal quality is, and you can get it peeked out. And yeah, I went from, you know, pitiful downloads and uploads to screaming fast, and I was 60 miles from the cell site. But the video I just posted has a bunch of information about that. Tom Downey wants to know if I'm going to Quartzsite this year. Well, my travel plans are in the air. For the RV show, probably not. I went to the Quartzsite RV show, the Big Tent, all that, about 5 years ago, and it was okay. Square Body says his water heater is newer. It's an Atwood 6-gallon, electric and gas. Yeah, so then if that's the case, Jay, you should be able to pull the anode out and just use some compressed air and just blow some compressed air in there, and that'll flush most of that water out of there. And the little bit that's laying in the bottom shouldn't be a problem. Even if it freezes, there's plenty of room for it to expand, so it's not going to crack out or cause any problems. Yeah, there you go. Gaetan said just the same thing. Judy wants to know if I have a video on installing a tankless water heater. You know, I don't, Judy. When I installed the tankless in my Class A, that was pre-YouTube for me. It's really super easy, though. I'll just tell you that much. And unless you're in a big hurry, I will have a video of installing a tankless because I'm putting a tankless in the truck camper. Scotty says those poles are 4 foot each. Excellent. Eric Myers might be in Quartzsite in February. January's too crazy. Yeah. Lots of cell phone congestion in Quartzsite in January. I'm awful dry. Scotty, I will address your comment there. He's interested in getting a tankless, but he hears they are not as useful in cold climates. I really never had any trouble with my tankless, even in cold climates, until I got to altitude. I was at 6,700 feet at Henry's Lake State Park, which is north of me here about maybe 90 miles, something like that. And it was about this time of the year. This is about the time of the year I used to head south, right around mid to late October. It's a little late, but I saw some folks. I was up on the interstate today and saw a bunch of, Class A's and fifth wheels headed south for winter with Canadian plates. And so the southbound migration has begun for our Canadian friends and for the people who live out in this area. Anyway, short story is that the incoming temperature of the water there was 40 degrees, and at 6,700 feet, my tankless would not heat the water to more than 100 degrees. Now, keep in mind that gas appliances derate at altitude. And so what that really means is that for every 1,000 feet you gain, I think I can't remember what the derate number is, but it's significant. And at 6,000 feet, it's really derated. So, the problem with when you're at that altitude is there's not as much oxygen to burn the natural gas at that altitude. So that's the only time I ever had problem with my tankless water heater not keeping up. And I had the Girard GC2. All right, that's a 2 GPM a minute that sipped propane. Highly recommended. Which reminds me, time for a cheap commercial and plug. If you'd like to support the channel, you can do so by visiting Amazon through the link in the description of this video. Then you can go off and visit and purchase anything you want on Amazon. I'll get a small commission. You'll pay the same price. And trust me, every little bit helps. Amazon works out to be somewhere around $60 a month usually. And, that goes to paying for my bandwidth. That kind of stuff, right? So it just helps offset the cost of running this YouTube channel. Which, by the way, I wanted to catch everybody up that was on 2 weeks ago. I wanted to let you know that, as I mentioned 2 weeks ago, everything that I made on social media last month was going to be donated to the Loaves and Fishes Food Banks of the Ozark in memory of my dad. And I did so. It was $463.10 is what I donated from all my social media income platforms. That would be YouTube, my website, advertising, YouTube advertising, Amazon, RecPro, and Renogy. And I do have links and affiliates set up with RecPro. I just see Tim asked me about that. The checkout code, put in when you go to checkout, use the checkout code TRBOLIN. You'll save yourself 5%. And then on Renogy, it's 10%. And Renogy, if I get around to it this week, has a special going on. And there's a couple things that might get up to as much as 23%. I might have to buy a few parts for my rig, even though I'm not going to need them till next spring. Anyway, let's see, what else was I going to say? Sorry, I'm kind of catching up on the comments here. So visit my website at trbolin.com. Use the affiliate links if you're so inclined to support the channel. And of course, just watch the videos and watch the commercials on the videos. Speaking of, has everybody noticed that YouTube's forcing you to watch a lot more commercials? They're not allowing you to skip them. Well, YouTube's advertising revenue last quarter was down, And so I've noticed this in the past when their revenue has fallen short of what they expect as far as advertising goes. They crank it up a little bit and turn it up to where you have to watch more commercials, which then puts more money not only in YouTube's pocket but in the creator's pocket. So it's a double-edged sword, right? I mean, one way or another, you got to pay for your content, whether you pay Hulu monthly or whatever. But yeah, I just happened to notice it, especially in the last week. There's been a lot more YouTube videos that I've been watching that I've been forced to watch an ad, which is cool. It's all right. I mean, advertising's everywhere. Score Body's responding back to Tom. He did tilt a camper. It drained a little more. Just want to make sure that leaving some in the bottom was common practice. It sounds like that the case, so all is good. Yeah, I think you're okay there, Jay. Don't worry about it. Judy's answering back to Scotty. I won't be in any really cold weather. Yeah, Scotty, unless you're like, in 30, 40 degree temps and your incoming water temperature is cold, which is where I was, and you're at altitude, you might have a few issues, but I don't think so. I mean, like I say, in 5 years of owning my tankless, there was only one time it wouldn't make 110 degree water, which is what I had it set to. And that was at altitude with really cold incoming water, 40 degree incoming water. Scotty says he runs a water heater most of the time and only flip to gas when I need quick recovery for multiple showers in a row. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, the tankless, the Girard tankless, well, any tankless in an RV is going to be propane only. It's just not practical to do 110 AC on a tankless in an RV. They just draw too much juice. Scott is querying out to Gayton. I'll get it right yet. Yeah, I agree with you, Tom. If there's room, it should be able to expand, not be a problem. Judy says she's noticed that YouTube's been running more forced commercials too. Yeah, and that's a good tip too, Tim, is when you do drain your water heater, make sure you open the relief valve if you have one, so the tank will drain quicker. And Scott says he lives in Lindsay, about 4 hours from you. Oh, wow, okay, how about that? So, got some close neighbors. It's kind of like Scotty and Tom. They're up there pretty close to each other, too. Kevin Coop, yes, with tankless gas only, because of, to get a tankless electric, you're talking 40, 50 amps. And that would be, 2/3 or almost all of the electric in your RV would be going to heating water. And then it wouldn't work when you were on the road, traveling. So the tankless in an RV water heater are going to be gas only. But I know mine sipped gas. It didn't use a whole lot of gas at all. Yeah, that was the one trade-off I did make, Tom, and Tom's making a good point. In some RVs, they have a hot water loop that comes from the engine. And in mine used to have this. And what it is that I think it's, were they Atwoods or Suburbans? I don't remember what the model is, but they have a loop from the engine coolant that goes through the water heater that heats the water heater while you're driving down the road. And so that was really handy to have. Just that little extra heat when you're driving down the road, you wouldn't have to run your propane. So that was a trade-off. I did lose that when I went to tankless, but it was a very minor trade-off, honestly, because of unlimited showers, never being out of hot water. There was a number of things. Yeah, Tim says he has that loop too. He has the loop from the engine coolant that goes through, and it is nice to have hot water when you get to where you're going. Tim has an Atwood. Tom's is a Suburban. Yeah, I'm pretty sure mine was a Suburban, but don't quote me on that. I just don't recall. By the way, if you do like the video, what you're seeing, give me that thumbs up. I always appreciate that. That was something I forgot to throw into the cheap commercial, the half past mark. Yeah, so any questions you might have, go ahead and throw them in the old chat window there. And again, if you're shy and you don't want to do it in chat, feel free to email me, trbolin@gmail.com. And I'd be happy to answer your questions in email. Now that things have settled down and I'm kind of back home, and oh, by the way, I did sell the house. It sold, well, within a week. We finalized the deal this morning, basically. So yeah, sold the house right away, which is super good. So for those of you that have been following along, we did get rid of the house. Suburban, yeah, okay. I thought that's probably what it was. Scotty says, I'm thinking my 13-year-old water heater is due for replacement and still unsure between tankless and not. I'm cheap, and the electric is usually free at the campgrounds. Yeah, that's true, but like I said, these tankless water heaters, they just use so little propane. It's amazing how little propane they use. For example, a typical winter of me in Tucson, when I would go there for winter, is I would get there usually around the 10th to 15th of November, and I wouldn't have to hook up my external propane tank, till usually February. So I could go 3.5, 4 months on a 38 gallon, which is really 32 when it's filled to 80%, on 32 gallons of propane. And that was for heat, except I would run my heat pump when the outside temperature was above 40, cooking and hot water. So they sip the propane. So even though you're cheap, I know I am too. We're not cheap, Scotty. We're frugal. Anyway, let's see. My brother, Judy asks, how's my brother settling in? He seems to be doing fine. I've been giving him all the room he wants. He has everything he needs. So I think we're going to give it a thumbs up. Every once in a while he'll spook me, though, because I'm not used to having people in my house, right? I mean, I've lived alone for quite a while. And so every once in a while he'll spook me. I'll come around the corner, he'll be sitting in the living room, and I won't have heard him come up. His room's in the basement, and I think he's got a pretty good layout. I think he's pretty happy with what he's got. So, I think we're doing good. But thanks for asking, Judy. Tom says they were in the gas loop all the time driving. Yeah, I honestly never used the electric in mine before I changed it out. Kevin Coop says, has anyone ever had a tire shaved to stop bouncing? If so, did it work? And Judy answered, yes, she did several years ago, and it worked. Yeah, it's not that uncommon. Tom says the biggest gas user in there is the cabin heater. Yeah, for sure. The furnace is the biggest propane user in mine as well. Or was in my Class A. Yeah, the water here, I just, very little gas that it used. They were very, very efficient. Yeah, RecPro, I think, has their own model. You can get the Gerard GC2 on Amazon, Scotty. And I think, I'm almost positive, I've got it probably in my truck camper rebuild store. If you go over to Amazon, to my store on Amazon, you're going to see a number of stores, and I've got one in there for the truck camper rebuild. And what I do is I put all the parts and pieces that I get from Amazon, because I don't get everything from Amazon. But the stuff that I do get from Amazon, I usually put in a store for folks to refer to. Tim says, I'm just the opposite. Engine coolant keeps the water hot during travel, and electric is free at campground, so I seldom use propane. Yeah, I guess it's whatever you get used to. Um, I can think of maybe 3 or 4 times that I used the electric 110 when I had the Suburban 10-gallon electric gas water heater. But I'll tell you, I never looked back after I changed it. Never really even thought about it twice. I mean, Judy, just as a side note, it's really plug and play. It fits exactly in the hole for your old water heater. The water connections are exactly the same. The gas line is exactly the same, and the 12-volt control connection is exactly the same. The only thing that's different is that you have a remote control that you have to put up in the cab somewhere, and I think the length of the line was limited to 12 or 16 feet. I don't remember. I just tucked it back in the closet by my shower in my Class A, and I plan on putting it in the wall by a switch pad in the truck camper. Yeah, Tom says he does the same thing as Tim. The heat by engine, then by campground electric. Tim Meyer says, did they provide a bypass for engine coolant, or was that on you to provide? I just built a bypass out of a piece of 3/4 inch copper, and it's 3/4 inch hose, and so I just built a loop of 3/4 inch copper, and I just looped it right back, and so that's how I did the bypass. So yeah, I had to build a bypass of my own. Yeah, Scotty, it'll be 10 gallons. There's two sizes of RV water heaters, 6 and 10 gallon. And the 10 is most common in the Class C's and Class A's, and the 6s are really common in the Class B's and the truck campers like myself and Jay. Square body truck camper has. 7:45. Wow, the night is flying by. So, any other questions, comments? We'll just hang here for a minute. I know there's a bit of delay tonight. I know I'm looking like I've got about 20 seconds of delay tonight. But I think that's probably because I had done a bunch of work to make this work a lot better from Arkansas. I think those of you that have been following along for a while will remember the first week I did my live from Arkansas, it was miserable. And so I made some major corrections to the streaming software I use to slow things down. And I was running tonight. I didn't realize it was Tuesday, quite honestly, to get things started up and ready to run. And I didn't get it. Good night, Jay. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you soon. So I didn't get a chance to go through and reset everything on my streaming software, which, by the way, is OBS, Open Broadcast Software, in case you're wondering, for those that are following along. Hi, Ben. Just got in from outside working on the Jeep. Been out of town the past 2 weeks, so a little behind on my webcast. Yeah, well, I didn't have one last week because I was traveling, and actually we were in Lyman, Colorado last Tuesday night, a week ago tonight. We did it in basically 2 days. The way we did the trip is that we left Green Forest, where my dad lived, in Arkansas. That's about, I don't know, it's about 20 minutes west of Harrison, Arkansas, about an hour, hour and a half drive east of the Bentonville, Fayetteville area. So we drove from there to Springdale, Arkansas, and then on Monday night, and then Tuesday morning we got up and headed out, and we were in here by probably, I think we got here around 6 o'clock on Wednesday night. It was about 23 hours. Tim says that International Super C had a picture was four-wheel drive. Cool. I didn't know if you caught that or not. Not really sure why you would need a four-wheel drive in a motorhome. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, sometimes it might be nice to have a four-wheel drive, but I don't know. You don't have the ground clearance in an RV like that, even a Super C, like you would have in a real four-wheel drive. So I don't know how much off-roading you do in it. Tom says when they're home, they just turn the water heater off, drain everything off. Yeah. Yeah, well, on our rigs, we have low point drains too, which help drain all the lines out inside. But I got in a big argument last year with somebody over whether or not you should blow the lines out or you should put coolant in them, and or antifreeze. And I'm going to soundly stick to antifreeze as far as winterizing goes, particularly if you're in a freezing climate. Because you could blow those lines out, that water still accumulates on the lines, and those lines have dips in them, and that water will accumulate in that dip or in a corner, and that's where they'll blow and break. That's where it'll freeze and blow and break. So you put the antifreeze in there, you're not ever going to have anything freeze up. I think with air just blowing out the lines, you have a slight chance of freezing up. Gaeton says, I'm frugal, you say, tell that to my wife. That's hilarious. Tim says he does both. He does not want to have to replace any water lanes. Yeah, that's good practice, to blow them out and then fill them with antifreeze. All right. You can't tell I'm really tired, but I am trying to catch up on some sleep. So I think unless there's anything else comes in, we'll wrap it up for tonight. Next week I'll have prepared some more content, and we'll kick off a new season. Okay, last minute go around. I know there's a little latency, so I'll just hang here for a second. Sure I didn't get any email sliding in. Cool. All right, I'm going to pop over here real quick just because Tim mentioned this. And I'll be damned if it's not four-wheel drive. Look at that. I didn't notice that, but there you can see that front differential hanging down there. And the tube axles that gives it away. I don't know why you'd want a four-wheel drive in that. You don't have that much ground clearance. I mean, you got this tailpipe and this step here. So I don't know if you're picking up all that much ground clearance. And besides, you got this big butt hanging off you here. And so you get into any kind of dips or crossing anything like that, you're going to drag the rear out of it, in my opinion. All right. So good catch, though. I didn't notice that. All right. Good night, Judy. Thank you for coming. Thanks, Tim. I will rest up and be on my best behavior next week. Last go. All right. So that'll do it for tonight. Thanks, everybody. We're going to wrap her up for now. We'll be back next Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Mountain Time. Bring your questions. I'll have some content prepared because I'll have a little bit more time this week to actually get a few things caught up. But until then, thanks for watching. I sure do appreciate it. Peace.